We have Joel Rubin, Democratic strategist and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State in the Obama administration, and retired Navy captain and Republican strategist Armen Kurdian. Welcome, both gentlemen. It's good to see you. And Joel, I do want to start with you. We are hearing from our reporters. Both candidates are preparing for Tuesday's debate in different ways. Harris here has long been saying that she basically cannot wait for this debate to square off with Trump. Has she set expectations just sky high for herself as a former prosecutor?
Well, Natasha, it's great to be with you, and it's a great question. Look, the debates matter, as your report just highlighted. These are crucial moments for the American electorate to see the two candidates in live, real form, without any prep notes in front of them, without any teleprompters, and saying and speaking exactly what they think and feel at that moment. So I do think it's good for her to set the expectations high. It's good for her to try to show the American people that she respects them. It's good for her to not try to lay out a false argument about why she may fail, which is exactly what Donald Trump is doing, rather than respecting the audience and saying he's going to do his best and prep for it. And the results show and how the people react to it. He's trying to make excuses ahead of time for his future potential loss in this debate, which I think really demeans the whole process. We need good debates. I'm excited to see the one on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are excited. And Armen, I want to turn to you here. You know, Trump and Harris currently neck and neck in the polls. The first debate certainly helped move Trump well ahead of President Biden at the time. How can Trump regain that momentum after this debate? This is a very different opponent. What must he do?
Good evening, Natasha. He's going to do the exact same thing he did against Joe Biden. He's going to be very calm, cool, and collected. He's going to debate the same way. And frankly, I think his debate prep is going to be a lot more effective than what the vice president is doing. You saw Joe Biden spent an entire week sequestered, getting hammered and doing a lot of really hard-nosed debate prep. The vice president's doing the same thing. That's not what Donald Trump is doing. And, you know, in my experience, you know, when I ran for the local city council, I didn't do that kind of, you know, hard-hitting kind of debate, and just you go into the stage much more relaxed, and you can much more easily answer the questions. And frankly, if the vice president was so excited about going forward to this debate, why hasn't she agreed to do two other debates, to have the three presidential debates, which is normal par for the course for the presidential election?
Yeah, that is interesting. And Armen, I want to stick with you about this, because we do see a number of Republicans forming groups for Kamala Harris. Just today, we see former GOP Congresswoman Liz Cheney saying that she will be voting against Trump, and really adding that a president Republicans revere would do the same. Let's take a listen again.
There is absolutely no chance that Ronald Reagan would be supporting Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't stand for any of the things that Ronald Reagan did.
Armen, do you agree with Cheney's assertion today?
Not exactly, no. Liz Cheney hasn't really been right about Donald Trump. And frankly, there have been a lot of Democrats who've left the Democratic Party because of what it stands for right now. Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, Tulsi Gabbard, right here in the state of California, two current and former California state senator, the mayor of Houston, they've all left the Democratic Party because it's gone so far over to the left, it's unrecognizable these days. So I don't really buy what Liz Cheney has been saying. And frankly, she doesn't really have much clout in the Republican Party anymore. But I will say that Trump does need to stick to the issues. He needs to stop with the personal attacks. And frankly, the other side needs to stop with the personal attacks, too, because that's not what the American people want to hear. They want to hear policy issues. They don't want to hear people sniping at each other.
Joel, I want to give you a chance to respond here. I mean, how does the Trump era differ from Reagan's time in office in terms of the GOP? What is your response to what Cheney said today?
Yeah, well, I do hope that we don't have personal attacks, to Armen's point, but unfortunately, Donald Trump is the one that's engaging in those personal diatribes. And I think that is part of why Liz Cheney, who I served under in the Bush administration as a civil servant, I think that's part of what is driving and motivating her and her father and other reasonable Republicans who do not like the character of the man at the top of the Republican ticket. Remember, Donald Trump even attacked Ronald Reagan in the late 1980s. He took out a full-page ad in the New York Times attacking Reagan's policy on the Soviet Union. So this is a man who's always been at odds with the Republican establishment, clearly, and it's not as if the establishment is winning at the top of the ticket. It's not, but it does have influence and does show responsibility and respect, and also a deference to the Constitution. And that's the last thing I'll say here, which is that Liz Cheney has made it clear that she believes Donald Trump violated the Constitution on January 6th in 2021, tried to overturn the proper results of the 2020 election, and that's why she opposes him and her father they support the Constitution, and Donald Trump does not.
You know, I do want to pull up on that point. Donald Trump just last night posting on Truth Social that if reelected, officials in power who he believes cheated him in 2020 will, quote, be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. This kind of rhetoric not usually heard coming from an American presidential candidate. Armin, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's rhetoric, just as you say. And frankly, if you look at the Democratic Party and how they weaponized the justice system against the President Trump, in a bunch of different locations, a bunch of Democrat attorney generals who were elected by their constituents. It's been a very serious issue with what we've seen. And
Natasha, I have to interject there. These are juries.
Excuse me. I'll finish her in a minute.
Our peers are convicting him.
Yes, they're
targeting.
They're convicting him because you have a Democratic judge whose daughter is also a Democratic fundraiser. So you can't call it really impartial. And frankly, if all of these issues, if all these issues were that important and that critical, how come they're all coming to a head here in an election year when they've been out there for several years? It's purely and nakedly political.
It's easy.
I think everybody knows
answer. It's easy to answer because Donald Trump has delayed them in court time and again, and he has been the beneficiary of political power and influence over the time frame of those decisions. But juries of the American people should not be put down and mocked just because they are convicting somebody who committed crimes on January 6th and supported the overturning of.
Well, when a judge doesn't allow certain evidence to be presented in a courtroom.
All right, gentlemen, we are out of time. I do appreciate the lively debate. Joel Rubin, Armin Kurdian, thank you very much for your time.